Okay, so now I want to talk about my sister, okay, and all that is like the dynamic between the two of us, and basically her backstory, because she is a separate abuser, my mother is a separate abuser, and together they form like the mega giant abusive abusers. So I'm gonna do my best to well, I mean, it's taken me a long time to make sense of all of this. So I think in the first recording, I mentioned, how we grew up. And again, I'm not like, oh my God, my terrible childhood, well, I'm such a victim or whatever. But I did get the belt all the time. By the time I was 5 years old, I had been in the intensive care for 2 months because I'd cracked my skull from temple to temple because I fell off the balcony of our apartment because my mom wasn't watching. I had stitches in my face. I'd had my stomach pumped twice because I ate all the drugs that they left for children to eat, I guess. And my sister had 3 sets of stitches in her forehead from accidents, and my parents were physically beating the shit out of each other and screaming and yelling at each other, and there was sex and drugs because they were hippies, and it was a lot. And so this is my theory for how I can make sense of my sister. When you're talking to my sister, if you don't know my sister and you're having a conversation with her, she's funny, she's bubbly, she seems like she's got it going on, and she's sweet and whatever, and she's drawing you in and building your trust, and in her maniacal mind formulating an alliance, because eventually you will turn against me on some level for some reason. As I stated, my dad was a very maniacal disciplinarian, and he did other things besides just whipping with the belt. But for the sake of my sister's explanation, we'll say the belt. So when my dad would whip me with that belt, first, sometimes he would nail the belt to the wall, put a chair in front of it, and just make me sit in front of the belt and stare at it for an hour. And mind you, I'm 4 and 5 years old, and all that other shit's going on in our house. And when it's time for me to get my spanking for dumb shit, like I remember getting spanked for throwing the ball in the house. And I don't want to say spanking anymore because I was beat with that belt. My dad would go in on me with that belt, and it wasn't like 3 whips. It was beating the fucking shit out of my tiny little, like, anorexic. I was so little and tiny and holding me up by one arm and just laying into me, and it just wouldn't stop. 8 lashes, 10, and it was so hard I would eliminate on myself, and then he would walk back by my room later and throw a towel in there for me to clean it up, and it was so humiliating and outrageous, and it made me so angry and sad and all these emotions at the same time, and the shit hurt, okay? So my sister was taking it too. She was getting spankings as well, and so she's like 4, let's say, when she starts getting her spankings, and this is where the lying with her begins. Okay, we were somebody. She had cut the bristles off of my dad's shaving brush, and my dad flew into a fit of rage. I mean, when I say discipline, like if he said go get me water, Kim, and I said huh, or I didn't hear him or whatever, he would go, what did you say? And I had 1 millisecond of time to say yes sir, and if I didn't, I was getting the shit beat out of me, because whatever. He was an authoritative disciplinarian. So when my sister and I would get spankings, the other sibling would have to, the screaming. Like, I would run outside, and I learned how to climb the tree on the side of our house. I would get up on the roof, and I would just sit up there and rock back and forth until it was over, because, this is my sibling, and I'm listening to her, and I know what that pain feels like, and it's so painful. Well, so the bristles were cut off of my dad's shaving brush, and somebody was going to get a fucking whipping. And I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that. At this point, I think I was 5 or 6. And he said, I'm going to ask you both one more time who did it. My sister just straight up lied and said, I did it. And I'm looking at her as I'm being carted off to the bedroom, and I took that first beating for her. And after that, I took a lot of beatings for her. But in that moment that she realized she could lie to, and I don't blame her. Okay, let me be clear on this. She was a little bitty child, and she was trying to cope and survive herself, and she didn't want to get that spanking because it fucking hurt. I get it. I get that. And so she tried a lie and it worked. And in that instant when the lie happened and I realized I can't trust you, and then I can't trust the person beating me because they are the authority and they're believing you. I basically can't trust anyone here. But in that instant that she got a payoff, there was a payoff for her in that lie. That's when the lying began, and she's very good at, like, at some point, like, it filtered into her school life and her work life and every aspect of her life, because she realized I can lie and manipulate to get out of things I've done and not get in trouble. I mean, that's an effective strategy when you're in the middle of all that shit trying to survive. But somewhere along the way in her development, it just went from I know I'm lying to get out of stuff to I'm lying, and now it's not lying. Whatever's coming out of my mouth, she believes whatever she's saying, and she lies about everything. And I believe those lies are all in an effort to feed her needs, and her basic needs are to feel appreciated, accepted, good enough, whatever she'll say, whatever she has to say to make herself look like something she thinks she should look like. So all my life, I didn't realize what was going on. Like, I just know when my sister starts talking and the bullshit that comes out of her mouth, on top of all of the strategies of, narcissistic personality disorder that she uses, the gaslighting and all of that shit, she's lying about stuff. Oh my gosh. And the straw that finally broke the camel's back, basically, I asked her, I had been apologizing to her. I've been trying to lead as an example and telling her specific things that I had done to her that I was sorry for and they were wrong. And she steady hadn't said, and mind you, I haven't done anything to her. I mean, have I retaliated against her? Yes, but I never have sought my sister out to fuck with her. If anything, I tried to get her to leave me alone, because when I was around her, lies were being told and I was getting grounded or I was getting whipped or beat. Bad shit happened when I was near her. That's, as a child, that's what I knew. But the lies would come out of her fucking face, and immediately I couldn't stop it, and it was so outrageous, and I didn't realize what was happening. We physically fought, I want to say daily. I'm talking every fucking day for the majority of our childhood, because of the shit that she pulled, and all the while manipulating everyone into feeling like she was a victim. And then somewhere along the way, she got so good at it, she created me as this huge monster that's been her torturer, and made herself, and has destroyed her self-esteem because I think I'm prettier and I think I'm smarter and all these things I've done to her, which I've never done. That's all in her head. But what I realized was I go into this, like, she sends me fat. I don't want to put my hands on another human being ever. I'm not a violent person, but I can't listen to her talking because everything is so jumbled and it's all tweet. I'm a Virgo. I like to keep the facts straight. I like to have evidence. I like to, research and the answers. I know how to say I don't know if I don't know, but my sister lies about shit she doesn't even have to lie about. And now I finally understand why she does what she does, and I get it. But that doesn't mean she's dangerous, because in a heartbeat, she will fucking throw anybody. She would throw Jesus under the bus if she thought it would get her out of trouble or make her life a little bit better. She doesn't give a fuck about anyone but herself ultimately. And she has spent a lifetime manipulating my mother to the point where they are now deeply, deeply enmeshed in codependency. And my mom believes whatever the fuck my sister says, no matter how big the lie is. My mom's going to come to her defense. And there's a bunch of other really fucked up shit that has happened along the way between the two of them. And finally I've resolved myself to the fact that they have a different kind of relationship than I'll ever have with my mother. But if I am going to have a relationship with my mother, my sister can't be anywhere around, because I realize this bitch is never going to say she's sorry for doing anything, because she doesn't think she